Hi, my name is Ivy Starnes, and I'm a gaited horse trainer in Fort Worth, Texas. Today we're talking about fail. Failing, failure, what it is, and why it's so important to learning and to the learning process. Now, some people out there are people that try hard again and again and again, no matter what happens. They do it until they get it done. And then a lot of us have sort of been conditioned to, if we don't get it right or perfect very quickly, we stop trying, which is interesting. So I was recently visiting my family back in Illinois, and my niece Genevieve is a little over a year old. And I remember when she just started walking, we'd praise her for pulling herself up. When as a baby, we would praise her for shaking things. We praised her for picking things up with her left hand. We praised her for holding things from the right hand to the left and back, because that teaches different pathways across the brain to go from left to right. And it was so interesting. We just clapped and cheered for her, unending. But with a lot of our gaited horses, I feel like we expect them and ourselves to get it right away. And we don't do it consciously. Like, we're not consciously going, the horse needs to know this, but the way we ride, it says to the horse that we expect you to do it perfectly and to do it for 3 miles or 500 feet, rather than taking those little baby steps, that idea where we cross from one hand to the other, that simplicity, and praise that. Now, in this video, I have fail as the reason. I was listening to a book and they talked about fail in a different way. Failure, or the fail, is simply an acronym for first attempt in learning. First attempt in learning. And that's all it is. Say it. First attempt in learning. It's your first shot at trying something that you know you're going to fail at, and you know your horse is going to fail at. So we basically have these two things. We have you and your failure, and your horse and his failure. And unfortunately, when we put two living beings together that are both likely to fail, we're definitely, absolutely, for sure, going to get some failure. And my question is, are you okay with that? Is that okay with you, that you're getting some failure? And it's also about the mental process. If you're not okay with failing, then you're not okay with starting something that you know you're going to fail. So let's look at ways that we can be okay with failing and why it's so important. A lot of this goes back to the fact that I talk a lot about stop and praise. Stop and praise, or do clicker training, and you're looking for the smallest try, the littlest bit of progress. And that's why I stop and praise for a couple of steps, or I stop and praise for one stride of canter, or I walk on or stop and praise for standing still for 1 second. Or, like in a case of a horse that's mugging, I praise when they put their head straight for a split second. Or if you have a dog that's barking, you can click and treat for when they stop barking for 1 second. Or when a dog looks at you and looks at you for 1 second, you can click and treat and gradually build duration. All of those things are things that we want to do. Fail is first attempt in learning. You're going to fail. If you're going to be working on knowing when the horse is gaiting, there's going to be times where you miss it, but that's okay. You have to do it again, because that was your first attempt in learning. And every time you do something new, you're going to have failures at the beginning. So failing is the only way to learn, and we do forget it. And there have been some, I think, prominent people that have talked about this recently, that we need to expect to fail. If we're not failing, we're not trying. Now, we don't want to stop at failing. We don't want to let failure dictate what we're doing and dictate the rest of our lives. We don't want it to be constant failing, but whenever we try something new, it's going to be a failure, because it's going to be your first attempt in learning. For example, when we see someone begin to learn the piano, do we expect them to sound good after one lesson? No. I mean, maybe they can play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Yeah, I can play that. Oh, I used to be able to. I don't remember now. What about their second lesson? What about their third lesson? What if there's a prodigy? Are they going to be playing symphonies perfectly by their fourth lesson? Yeah, probably not. Even if they have that ear that can hear perfect pitch, we know things like piano, or learning anything new, painting, calligraphy, Pick anything you do, landscaping, even cutting the grass. Like my brother now cuts grass in straight lines and I still just go in circles and it doesn't look as nice. And if I wanted to do straight lines, it would take practice because he's done it more than once and I bet his early lines looked crooked. So anything we do, we know we're going to mess up. And we don't expect it perfect. But when people get on their gaited horse, they expect them to gait perfectly. They expect them to canter perfectly. They expect them to turn perfectly, side pass perfectly within a few sessions or the first try. And what about themselves? What about yourself? When you go to work on softness and you know you're not releasing right away, do you give up because it's A, boring, B, it's hard and you fail at your releases or your horse isn't getting it right away? That's the thing. If you go out there to train, you got to take the pressure off yourself because it's just your first attempt in learning how to be a better horseman, learning how to be a better horsewoman, learning how to communicate with your horse is always difficult, even for the best of us. So you need to learn to be okay with those failures there. Hang on, I've been really struggling with Facebook recently, and it says there's 2 comments and I can't see them. Let's see, I need to figure out why Facebook's been doing this. I will come back to that, see if I can fix it. Let's move on a little bit. Sometimes I feel like people are afraid of putting in the work and trying and doing it even when it feels like you failed a bunch of times in a row. That only means you're getting closer to succeeding. I can tell you that I've worked with horses on things and it took time and time and time again where I messed it up and failed and the horse didn't get it right for the horse to finally get it. But I got there, but it's because I didn't stop. If you see someone who's good at something, let's just take horses. You see a clinician that's really good at working with horses. Do you think they were just born with it? Or that they just got on a horse and suddenly knew it? It probably took them years. It has taken me years. You see me come to a clinic or do these training videos, but it took practice on a lot of people's horses who didn't take a couple of hours. They took a couple of weeks or a couple of months before I finally figured out how to be softer and lighter, how to stop and rest more frequently, how to recognize softness, how to recognize that progress, how to be able to feel gait. I have to ride so many horses for me to be able to feel that gait as well as I do. It's not something that just came to me and I was born with. So remember that. Failure is just first attempt in learning. Even this live video, this is probably the lowest view count that I've had in a long time. There's 17 people watching, which is not very many as far as it goes. Normally I'm used to having 40 to 80. But does that mean that I failed? Does that mean this video was worthless and not worth my time? No. It means that I'm learning to speak better, I'm learning to communicate better, and I just might be able to help somebody today get past a failure and get out there and start, or keep going if they started it and are struggling. I'm going to see if, hopefully this doesn't end this video. We're going to see if I can get back into this. Hopefully this didn't just stop. Okay, there we go. I found the comments. They moved it. Pamela says, I do this all the time. She fails, but I'm okay with it. That's the way I learn. Hi from Memphis, Tennessee. Good for you, Pamela. It's super important to be able to know you can fail there. Cindy says, I'm working in Liberty. I fail way more than my mare. Yeah, Liberty and, especially there are some horses. They really get to me. Like, I can't stand working with them or something just doesn't work and I fail so much because it's me, not the horse's fault. Let's see. Penny says, failure is the building block to success. Absolutely right. Sarah says, I needed to hear this today. Thank you. You are so welcome, Sarah. And sometimes I do these videos and I go, I don't think anybody's watching them. Why did I take the time to do this? Did I pick a bad topic? But then somebody will say something like, they needed to hear this today, and it makes it worth it. I get to interact with people from around the world, and in some way I am making a small difference, but I still fail. I still have technical issues. I still have things that go wrong. Bayron says hi. Regina says hi from Ontario. Cindy says, I think they have a gift, those that have done this, but they did it for years of work to be as good as they are. Went to a clinic this Sunday on Liberty work, and it was such a dance. Coordination is such a part of it. Body language is so important with horses. My goal is to improve with each session. Cindy, I need to do a video about body language. That's awesome that you noticed that. I feel like so many people aren't aware of their body language, even just groundwork stuff. Forget riding, just simple Liberty stuff and knowing where's your whip pointing. So many people keep the pressure on by keeping the whip behind them, or their body is tense and they don't release pressure and they're holding that constant pressure. Even some riders that are making money and getting sponsors, and I watch them and they hold the reins tight constantly, and that horse has so much tension and they don't see it yet. They're going to see it and they're going to look back, but they did it because they failed again and again, and then eventually they're going to realize it and they're going to improve so much. And that is with all of us. I know there's things about my riding that I need to improve, and I'm hoping that over time I'll keep trying to improve it and keep failing and noticing it and then getting better. Aaron says the only way you'll ever get better is to fail. Yes. Deb says, yes, perfect timing for this topic. Lisa says, let's see, I have to rethink and start over on many occasions. Yes, and that's what I'm finding so much. Cindy says, so nice, Cindy, thank you. She says, you are so needed. So thankful for your teaching. You are so welcome. I am so thrilled with this last year because it's been a year. I should have done like a anniversary thing of the first live video that I did. And it's been so fun to connect with people and see where people are improving and how these live videos have made a difference for them and their horses. Sherry says, hello from Whitecourt, Alberta, Canada. Shanna says, you're making a difference. You've taught me so much. My pony Lily and I are so grateful. You are so welcome, and you've done such a good job with her. Really briefly, I know most of you know this, like some of you have already bought the DVDs. I do have this new Gaited training DVD. It's over 9 hours of footage. You can buy that. The link is in the description, and it's $174. And if you buy it soon, because only a few spots left, you'll get the mounting DVD completely free. All you have to do is put the Gaited training DVD in your cart, and automatically this one gets added in, and it costs you $0. And this DVD is over 2 hours of footage. And it's been work just compiling this. It's brand new footage. Just wanted to share that with you guys. So failure is super important for learning, as several people have already restated, and I love that people are commenting with their way of saying it because it just makes it more clear for everybody else. And I want to encourage you, there are some things where you need a trainer and you need some professional help, and that's why I do clinics and other things, but sometimes you just have to go out there and keep working at it and looking for those little successes, even though you failed the previous 4 or 5 days. Keep doing it. And I want to touch briefly on this, and I'm going to do a full topic on it. But I've had quite a few people comment lately that the stop and praise is boring. And it's funny because I'm like, I never thought about it as boring, and I guess it kind of is. But to me, it's not boring. It's learning. It's the horse processing. It's me processing what to do next. And that's actually something that maybe I should teach. And I love doing these live videos because I get to talk through stuff. I think one thing I need to start teaching is when you do stop and praise, it's not supposed to be boring. It's not supposed to be this chore. But what it is supposed to be is it's supposed to be a chance for you to reflect on what you stopped for, and it gives you a chance to game plan what you're going to do next. So think about it as a way to consider what just happened and a way to consider what your next move is, and to do that while you're stopping. When I was in Illinois, I was in the mounted patrol for our county, and they did search and rescue training, SNR training. And one of the things they teach you is that when you search a grid, you work with people that are kind of going out next to you, whether you're on the ground or mounted, and you stay a certain distance apart from each other, and you walk forward a certain distance and then stop, and everybody stops in a line. What's super important about the stopping and why you have to have a horse that stands still, because then you now search in a grid up and down all the way behind you, 360 degrees around you. But what's important they teach you is that you must be stopped for this to work. And they talk about it actually in safety and driving a car as well. You must be stopped, or as you move, your brain can't recognize things it normally would. So if you come, for example, if you come to a stop sign and you do a rolling stop, which I'm sure nobody here does, but if you know someone or been in the car with someone who's done it, and you look both ways, and you look ahead and you roll forward, there could have been a car coming, and not only was it maybe in your blind spot, but your brain, because you never physically stopped moving, didn't recognize it as a car. There's studies that say when you're in motion, you don't recognize things you normally do. So when you stop and praise, it gives you a complete chance to reflect on what you just did and your horse did without that movement. And it gives you a chance to breathe and take a break. And I'm going to start emphasizing that because it's not just stop and stand there for 60 seconds and be bored, although that may happen. It's also a chance for you to take a deep breath, plan your next move, and gather yourself for continuing training. And if you think about it, that's actually a lot of mental work. Bayron says it's hard to wait, but it works. I know, so many people have come back and said how hard it is to wait. Bayron says, so I'm learning to have patience, which I need. It's helping both of us. Penny says, the stop and praise made a huge breakthrough in my training. My horses really love work now. Thank you. That's so awesome, Penny. I love hearing that. More than anything, that stop and praise, hearing people's testimonies, and I'm going to probably save your guys' because I have a whole Word document or whole Google Doc of people saying how stop and praise worked for them. I'm going to do a video. I'm going to show everybody's testimonies and say, look, if you're not doing this, because it doesn't cost anything. I'm not selling a gimmick. It's just something anybody can do. Cindy says the stop and praise is confirming with the horse that he or she is succeeding. Stop and praise is in my opinion, is letting the pressure off, and so how horses learn. I totally agree, Cindy. Thank you. Everybody here, your support is just so helpful and just revitalizes my desire to keep doing these live videos and keep producing content so that everybody does make progress. I can reach so many people. But it does come with failure, and sometimes it comes with boring. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Hopefully coming up at some point, if I go on a trail ride, there will be a video in the future talking about trail etiquette and trail safety because it is super important and not something that commonly gets addressed. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the flat walk and running walk and why everybody gets them wrong. So often. I am so sick of people getting it wrong when it's so obvious. Okay, I'm not actually sick. I just don't want to keep answering the question. So I'm going to make a video just about the flat walk and running walk, and it's not going to be exclusive or why you should train it, but it is going to be a little bit more about what it is, how to see it, and then so you know when you're looking at the flat walk and when you're not. And again, don't forget, Gaited Training DVDs, you buy that set, then you get this one completely free. How to train your horse to side pass to you on the mounting block. And Cindy comes back and says, so many people need this. You are so welcome. I hope it helps people. That's what I want to do this for. I love the interaction on here. Thanks, guys, so much for commenting. I love it when you guys take time to comment. It's so fun. It's really sad for me if I do a live video and the comments aren't working because then I can't reply to people. So thanks, guys, for commenting. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Tomorrow we're talking about the flat walk and running walk. This coming weekend is the clinic near Dallas, Texas. I think there's still room to audit. And then the weekend after that, so the weekend, April-May weekend, is the clinic near Birmingham, Alabama. And that does have room for auditors. It's going to be really fun. And I hope you guys can make it. And if you get a chance, share this video. That helps so much. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a good rest of your day and have a good time stopping and praising and have a good time failing and keeping trying. You got this.